Hello, welcome to PlayStation Access and welcome back to the Tuesday Checklist, the weekly show where we sit further back on the Access sofa than we do for any of our other regulars so as to give the impression of a relaxed, casual conversation. This week it's Valentine's Day, or do you still think I can get away with a couple of hours of Kingdom Hearts 3 Day, as I'm calling it this year, and so we thought we'd flip convention on its rigid conformist face and talk about heartbreak instead. Dave, tell us about a gaming moment that broke your fragile heart.
Sorry, it's still a bit raw. My game. We've talked about this before. Okay. But, I mean, I can't not think of it, especially around Valentine's Day. You have to bear in mind, this game came out in 2010. In 2010, I was 25 and single. And so, I was fragile, and I didn't need what Mass Effect 2 did to me, which was not let me romance anybody. Nobody. We have spoken about this before. Usually Holly is here and she will tell me where I went wrong because she knows Mass Effect 2 so well. She knows exactly what you have to do to romance anybody and unlock everything and the good ending.
She's been to all the right Tumblrs.
But I didn't know any of this. I was just playing it as me, Dave, who looks a bit like Commander Shepard. It was just me, just being nice to everyone. I was being nice to everyone. As far as I'm aware, that's a good way to get into a relationship, certainly with an AI character. Just be nice to everyone until, an opportunity arises. And that's what I think maybe that was my mistake. I was just spreading my niceness evenly amongst my crew and no one was having any of it. So I tried to romance, Jack, I tried to romance Tali, I tried to romance Liara, I would happily have romanced Garrus.
Maybe the problem was that you didn't focus on an individual.
This is what I'm saying, but I don't even know how do you focus? How do you focus?
Do you mean
I'm talking to them, we're having conversations, I'm giving some great banter, like really good chat.
Well, that's the problem. Maybe someone did like you, but then they saw you flirting with another character at the same level, and then they thought you were a player.
Is it that advanced? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could admit that would be a problem. I tried to romance Miranda. I mean, some of these characters, I think, would even be bad romance choices. I wouldn't have cared. Do you know what I mean? Like, some of them are maybe bad people, but I just wanted a romance. And like I said, at 25, I was single. I didn't have a romance in my real life. I thought I could turn to this game, and press the right buttons until someone says, I love you. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't find the right combination of buttons. And it was heartbreaking. I got to the end of the game. I did everything. I had like the kind of, I had all the DLC. So I did all these extra missions and things. It took me ages. It took me 2 years to finish.
This is so weird. It's so much like listening to someone on the internet who can't get a date and they're like, I've got a good job. I've got a nice car.
What do they want?
I've got all the DLC.
What do they want? This is what I mean. I can understand humans, have different needs maybe. But these are just characters in a game where literally they're just waiting for you to do the right buttons of the right, ones and zeros. And they're like, you've unlocked romance with me.
When did it become heartbreaking? When did you realise I'm getting no action in this
game? Like I said,
it
it became apparent quite near the end that time was really running out. I thought maybe, for a time, I thought maybe this is when it happens because we're going into the final battle. I thought maybe whoever my potential suitor might be would be like, it's the end.
I love that.
I've always guys, I've been nice to all of you.
I mean, now or never. Let's just say if anyone's got any feelings they want to talk about right now, anything at all.
Yeah. Do you remember that great conversation we had?
Yeah.
In the kitchen. Do you remember that? That was good.
Remember how nice and steady I've been the whole way through this?
I've been such a good commander. Maybe not broke my heart. Maybe that's a bit of a legacy. It just kicked me whilst I was down. It confirmed my broken heart. But yeah, Mass Effect 2 broke my heart, sort of. Or just never didn't break my heart. Maybe that's the problem. I never got my heart broken in Mass Effect 2.
Touch my heart.
Didn't have a heart.
Never touched me anywhere.
Yeah. Rubbish.
Okay, so a game that completely broke my heart into a million pieces is actually a series in a weird way of games.
No.
The shock and horror.
No.
It's more of a series, it's episodic. Now, I'm going to say the game is Life is Strange.
Okay.
Now,
Oh,
first
no.
of all, I'm going to have to say huge spoiler warnings
Oh,
because...
no.
Wait.
I've literally got this downloaded. I really wanted to play this soon.
Oh no, don't
is-
say that!
The hazards
I'm
of the
gonna
job.
break my heart. It's okay. It's about time that I knew.
No, don't. Oh my god, I'm going to be the ruiner of everything.
Is everything okay in the end?
And,
Is that why it was heartbreaking?
I wouldn't say everything's okay, but I will say the game breaks your heart in multiple ways. Like,
Okay.
Can you briefly explain Life is Strange to people who might not know what it is?
so Life is Strange is a series of games. It's episodic, and you're basically a girl called Max. She's just moved to her old hometown, and she discovers she has these magical, or this power, where basically she can rewind time for a certain extent.
Yes.
So that's why, for example, if she messes up or something, she'll quickly put her arm out, and then time can be rewound, and then she can change her ways, change her path.
Even with that power, your heart's still broken.
Well, my heart's broken because I get very attached to games, and I can sometimes get very attached to certain characters. I feel awful now, Dave, if you haven't played
Go on,
it.
it's okay.
Let's do it.
I need this.
Okay, so
It's been years.
big spoilers. The moment that my heart was completely shattered was with a character called Mr. Jefferson.
Okay.
So Mr. Jefferson is a photography teacher, and he is awesome. He is like really cool. He's just a really cool teacher. He's like got good knowledge, and he helps Max out. And he's also like, Max, you haven't done your project. Come on, I believe in you. You should do these things.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with Mr. Jefferson. But there's also a plot where there's a couple of murders and stuff like that. It's not really murders,
Casual murders.
but it's like there's a whole big premise of someone called Rachel Amber has been missing. And as you're kind of finding out a bit more what happened to her, then some of your friends in the game, they can kind of go missing for a bit, but then they come back and they're really distraught. Like
I feel
people
like Rosie's
completely
teasing
change.
us and not telling us why our heart's broken down.
What happens to Mr. Jefferson? And also, can it not happen, or is it inevitable?
This one is unfortunately inevitable. Mr. Jefferson is basically, he's such a passionate photographer. He takes rather disturbing pictures of female students. Is it male as well? I think it's mainly female. It's like a whole thing of beauty.
I'm not sure this is because he's a passionate photographer.
It's because he wants to capture like natural beauty and like things that are beautiful. He wants to
I feel
get
like
them.
we need to have a chat off camera.
I mean, I do not agree with that at all. But so he's got this obsession with just, capturing beauty and things like that. So he has some students and then he sadly drugs them. And and it's in a really horrible basement dungeon place.
I don't think this has got
I
anything
love-
to do with it.
But
He's an artist.
Have you got Stockholm syndrome?
no, he's
He's a nice guy.
Well, the thing is, like, you're going through all the episodes, and I absolutely loved him. I fell in love with him. I even made a song about him.
Oh no!
I played it with my friend Liam, and he loved my song, and I was like, I wanna be with Mr. Jefferson, Jefferson. So of course, when the moment happened that you realise that he's kind of the big sort of boss that's manipulating people and doing all of these questionable, creepy things, my heart was just shattered. And there's a moment where, let's just say there's a gun involved, and one of the episode literally ends with a character who was just drugged. I will say it was Max. She was just drugged, so she can't use her rewind powers. She looks up and then you see the legs, and that's when it's revealed that all along it was Mr. Jefferson. And I remember that moment, it's on YouTube as well, like that moment where I saw Mr. Jefferson, I went, oh my God, I was completely shattered. And that because I loved him so much, and Mr. Jefferson.
I'm really sorry.
Oh no!
It's okay, it's
That is
okay.
heartbreaking.
But he was always a bad guy.
He was, well, yeah.
That's what you have to remember. You know what I mean? The person that you
How
fell in
does
love
that
with
help?
didn't exist. You're just the bad person because it's a game, but you know, but it's not. It wasn't your fault.
I know I just got so attached to him, but now I can't love him anymore because
No, you're right.
he's a psychopath.
Yeah,
He is.
yeah. You gotta let him go.
Yeah.
To prison.
A Merry Valentine's Day Tale.
Oh, lovely.
Well, they're not really about love, are they? Most of our entries, and certainly mine isn't. Mine is about a time in a game when I was probably like traumatized the most, heartbroken in that way.
And this is what you like to associate with Valentine's Day.
Yeah, Yeah.
Terrible, terrible heartbreak.
So, as I think a lot of people, when it gets around to Valentine's Day, a lot of people start thinking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That's one of its, it's a natural association. And I think we're beyond the point of spoilers with Modern Warfare, so I am going to say what happens at a particular moment.
I haven't played it.
Really?
No, I haven't.
Right.
I haven't played any Call of Duty.
Well, this is what you get.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
A strange spoiler.
But in terms of just being really sad and just like, oh, I can't believe this has happened, what's going on? This moment sticks with me. It was probably one of the first times that a game really did something this surprising. And Modern Warfare was great in the campaign it had loads of weird curveballs and things that you wouldn't normally expect to happen, especially in like a first person, military campaign. They're normally about just making you someone really good at guns and then you gun everyone and then, and then it's the end.
Cool.
There are multiple perspectives in Modern Warfare, so you play as a few different soldiers, and at one point you are, I believe it's Sergeant, I think it's Paul Jackson, from the US Marine Corps, and there's like a level which is kind of quite heavily inspired by Apocalypse Now, and you go into like a Middle Eastern city and you're like the gunner on the side of like a helicopter warship, you're just like firing at bad guys, and it's like, it's a first person shooter, I'm winning, everything's going great. And then, as you're kind of leaving, in the background behind you, like a nuclear bomb goes off, and you kind of like, it's like that Fallout Boy thing, you're kind of going like, how far away is that nuclear, should we be worried about this? And then everything in the game goes the colour of fire. And you're kind of like, well, this is really bad. Like I guess at this point, ooh, what an escape this is going to be. I can't believe this is happening. Fire, and now the helicopter's crashing. And then you zoom out, because the game's got that whole kind of, it was very much
satellite imagery.
Yeah, really dialed into the kind of the imagery of and the tech kind of heaviness of war, modern war. Is one of the real kind of aesthetic shifts of the game. So it kind of zooms out, and you're like, gives you the idea of like there's a bank of people somewhere hidden in like Virginia in the States, like trying to track what's going on. You can see like the big explosion happening. You can't see where you are. You're like, oh, I guess I'm dead then. But then it finds your like signal and it goes back in, and you're like, oh, I'm getting up because I'm like heroic because I'm playing a video game.
Yeah.
And in video games, I'm a hero. And obviously at that point, you've soaked up a fair amount of radiation, I guess. So you're kind of like, everything's a bit shaky, and you're like pressing, the get up or jump button. You're like, come on, Paul, go and do some more gun.
He's gonna get up.
He's gonna live.
And you kind of crawl around for a bit, and then you can turn around in the game, and you can like see the enormous mushroom crowd. And like there's the clash of logic in your head is, definitely if there was a big nuclear explosion this close to me, like I would be dead. But here I am, and then you realise that you're not alive, even though in games you are normally alive, and then you just sort of slump to the ground and everything goes black, and you're like, it was just there is no way of playing that bit of the game and surviving.
Yeah.
And it was just enormously sad.
It was really shocking. I remember being incredibly shocked, because you do just think, but I am the player.
Yeah.
And the player must live.
Yeah, me, the protagonist of reality. What's happening? Why am I dead?
I always live.
Yeah.
It was a big shock.
I was
wasn't
very
expecting that turn, in all honesty. Listen to the story.
And that's not the end of the game either. The game carries on from there. That's like, it's near the end, but it's not the end.
It's good motivation, because you're chasing a bad guy, a bad man, and obviously then at that point he's killed you, and you're like, well, now I'm really angry. Like
really
of all the people you could have picked on, you killed me, and I'm still here sort of as another player, but now I really want to kill you. And then even in the final stages, the game does other things a bit like that. I can't remember a more satisfying kill than the last one in Modern Warfare, where you're like, you deserved that. You killed me, among other people. Me, you killed. I hate you. So it was great.
Biggest mistake.
Exactly, yeah. When you killed me. But that was it, yeah. Modern Warfare, Sergeant Paul Jackson.
A game that broke my heart is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and I am about to majorly spoil Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
I can't believe this.
So,
this is going to spoil it for me. I want you to know that you've put this game in several Friday features, and I always skip this bit. But here I am now.
Well, Dave, you told me you've played 3/4 of this game, and the game's like, what, 4 or 5 hours long?
Yeah.
So, really, you've only got yourself to blame. I mean, and me. I'm about to spoil Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, so if you're watching the video and you don't want to know what happens, skip my entry. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons absolutely broke my heart, because at the end, the older brother, Naya, I believe the older brother is called, dies.
Great.
Now, this
one
is
of the thumbsticks.
this is, and that is the point, Dave. That is why this video game death affected me more than so many other video game deaths, because it's genius. It's absolutely genius the way Brothers works, because if you don't know the game, I assume you're not watching because I've spoiled it. You control two brothers in the game. One you control on the left stick and one you control on the right stick. And it's quite an odd thing to get used to at first, but when you get used to it, you do get used to it. And that's how you play. Each stick represents a brother, and they each have their own different way of interacting with characters in the world. Like the older brother's a bit more sensible, whereas the younger brother, he's kind of more playful, and he'll interact with characters in a more humorous way. And both of the brothers are on a journey to find a cure for their dying father.
Yes.
So the entire way through the game you're thinking, oh no, I bet the dad's gonna die at the end probably. It's already really sad at the beginning because prior to the events of the story, I think their mother has died, so they're at the grave of the mother. But I think towards the end, the two brothers get lured into this sort of den by this seemingly beautiful woman. The beautiful woman turns out actually to be a demonic spider.
God, a spider of all things.
And she sort of lures the older brother in. And the younger brother's like, no, don't trust her, Naya, don't trust her.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he is too enticed by this woman's like enchanting beauty, and he gets just skewered by her evil spider limbs.
Spidered.
The game doesn't finish there. It carries on for a little bit after. So Naya succumbs to his wound and dies. And you then have to play through the rest of the game just controlling Nai, the younger brother. And characters die all the time in video games. It's not an uncommon thing to happen. And I think across all fiction, character death is a very, I'd say, overused narrative device to try and elicit an emotional response from the person who's either watching the movie or playing the game.
Yeah.
To the extent where I think I've personally become quite desensitized to characters dying in things.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really shock me anymore if a character dies. It's become such an overused trope. But
You're
Brothers,
Game of Thrones, aren't you?
don't let's not spoil Game of Thrones for anyone. But it's so well done in Brothers because you have a literal physical connection to each brother because they are each controlled by one stick, and so for the past 4 hours or however long you've been playing it, you've been playing the game like this.
Yeah.
And now you're playing it like this, and you feel it. You feel the loss. It feels weird. It feels wrong. You feel like what's going on? This game doesn't feel right anymore, and it's amazing how that affects your emotional reaction to the death.
Yeah.
Like, because obviously you've only known this person for 4 hours, but you feel it so keenly, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it now. It's such a strange feeling to have, to physically feel the loss of a character as well as emotionally feel the loss of a character. It's so brilliantly done.
Yeah.
And you have to bury Naya with Nai. That's one of the actions you have to do. You have to pull him in, bury him, and then at the end, his grave is there next to the mother's grave. And it was brilliantly done, but it was absolutely heartbreaking in a way no other video game death has been. There are many video game deaths that have happened in the games I play. Ares in Final Fantasy VII is a famous one, but I didn't feel that as much as I felt this.
Yeah.
Very well done. Heartbreaking.
If you don't have a save game, you can input,
Choose.
the previous. So I could just say who I had a relationship with in the last game.
That's weird. Can't cheat.
Yeah.
You can't cheat love.
Oh, you're right. No, so I'll just never play it.
That's okay, Dave. You can add it to the ever-growing list of games you'll never finish. Let us know in the comments what gaming moments broke your heart. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another Tuesday checklist.
For the players.